It's important to know where to turn to in times of crisis. Therapist Jim Gilmore is here to discuss how to support someone who's experiencing a mental health crisis and what's available through the Montgomery County Crisis Center. That's next on Wellbeing Matters. Thank you for tuning in to Wellbeing Matters. Therapist Jim Gilmore has helped people struggling with crisis his entire career and is currently the supervisory therapist at the Montgomery County Crisis Center. Jim, thanks so much for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me. Good to be here.
So, help us understand what services are provided through the Crisis Center.
Sure enough, the Crisis Center is open 24/7. That means we never close. There's three ways to interact with our services. The easiest and most simplest is to call us. We take about 40,000 incoming calls a year, and the line is answered by a licensed therapist 24/7. You can't leave a message. There's no screening. It's a direct link to a therapist immediately. We kind of get three sorts of calls typically. The most popular call we get is a consult call where folks are calling saying, hey, I'm concerned about a loved one. I'm concerned about my uncle, my brother, or I'm concerned about my neighbor that I don't really know that well. Their behavior's changed. I think they're struggling with depression maybe, or they're just off. There's something that's not quite right about them. What can I do to get them some help? And we love this kind of calls. And we're going to take those calls. We're going to problem solve with you, explain how to access our services, what we can do, or what we're limited, that we can do. The second way to really reach our services is to walk in. We're open for walk-in clients. We've remained open throughout the pandemic, and our therapists are here 24/7 in person as well. And the crisis can be self-defined. You don't have to meet a certain criteria or a certain level of dysfunction or crisis. It's, if you're having a problem and you need to talk to somebody, man, please come on in. We're always available. We're always open, and we're here. The third way to really get our services, let's say you have a loved one you're concerned about and they're not willing to come in and talk to us. Or maybe they're in a certain situation, they're not really thinking clearly enough. Well, we have a mobile team that can respond to that person's home. Go to their place of work, go to a public place. We get a lot of calls from concerned citizens saying, hey, I've had an interaction with somebody at the 7-Eleven. I'm concerned about how they're doing. They appear despondent or they're talking to themselves. And so our mobile team can go out there, do an assessment and offer that person some help and see how we can best help them. That's the three ways to interact with us. We have additional services as well that are a little more kind of after the initial call. And that could be a residential crisis bed. We have 4 beds on site, which are really an alternative to an inpatient psychiatric admission. We also have a program here we call transitional psych, which really just means we have quick access to psychiatrists. For the most folks, you're looking at a 6 to 8 week at best to get a psychiatrist. My psychiatrists here are usually within 1 to 2 business days. I can have somebody linked up. The only challenge we have with that is it has to be no private insurance for the psychiatrist, and that's a real challenge. But all of our other services, our walk-ins, our telephones, our mobile crisis, doesn't matter if you have insurance, private, public, or no insurance, it doesn't limit that approach from there.
Thank you, Jim. And what if we're concerned about someone's mental health, or maybe we're experiencing a mental health crisis of our own, and there's obstacles to getting help? Either the person that we're concerned about won't reach out, or we're concerned ourselves, what's going to happen once we contact you?
That's a great question. I mean, who wants to have a crisis, right? No one's going to volunteer and say, hey, I think I'm having something wrong. So whether it's our own internal, stigma, I don't want to admit what's going on, I don't want to reach out, or somebody lacks a certain insight, it's a very real question. So with that said, I would really encourage utilize our mobile team at that point. Because a lot of times folks say, well, I'm not going to go talk to anybody. There's no way, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm okay, put it off. So at that point, our mobile team could come out, knock on the door, try to engage the person. Another option would be, maybe that's too intrusive. Maybe that's too much. You know what I mean? Well, we can reach out and call you. You can say, hey, would you mind giving my brother a call? Would you mind giving my mom a call? And you can remain anonymous if you want to. It's a little more tricky. They usually figure out who's referred them, but you can remain anonymous. And we're going to do our best to try to engage that person, make some sort of connection to see if there's something we can offer them that's going to help them function the way they really want to function.
Great to know. I didn't realize about the phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
So, what other resources are there for people who are experiencing a mental health crisis or concerned about someone else?
Well, something I really want to give a plug for is NAMI as well. NAMI is a great organization. It kind of goes back to your previous question. What if I have somebody who's not willing to get help or is having a difficult time to get help? NAMI is really a support for those folks who are loved ones, family of somebody with a mental illness. They have a lot of good ideas, a lot of good resources, a lot of courses that helps kind of manage that. The other there are your traditional resources as well. Pediatricians for young folks, primary care docs are getting much more versed in mental illness concerns, and they're much quicker to refer on to psychiatric care. And there's other services, things like ACT teams in the county, which are called assertive community treatment, where they're more of I was going to use the word aggressive, but I will use aggressive approach to try to engage folks who are repeatedly stumbling and falling and not meeting, their mental health goals that they want to meet. Those kind of things.
So, Jim, I want to sincerely thank you for joining us today. I know that I personally have used the Montgomery County Crisis Center multiple times throughout the years, and the level of support and guidance that's provided is really outstanding.
No, I appreciate that, definitely.
Please keep the Montgomery County Crisis Center in mind if you or a loved one is experiencing a mental health crisis. MCPS staff, please remember the Employee Assistance Program is here for you and your family members and offers no-cost professional counseling and referrals. We also can help guide in times of crisis. Thank you so much for watching Wellbeing Matters, and be well, everyone.